All right, as I said, good morning. My name is Emily Boyce. I am the Development Director at Equality Illinois. I know most of you by now. This morning, we are super excited for our final IEC session. I think we're gonna hit a topic that is super important to all of us as we approach the illustrious month of June, which is how to authentically engage the LGBTQ community in a way that's supportive. And I'm super excited to be joined by Stephen Shaw and Josh Miller, our counterparts from Verizon. They have really thought through a great framework to share with us about how to kind of assess your current efforts with authentic engagement of the community, as well as potentially use it to develop new efforts if you don't have those in place already. After we hear from Stephen and Josh, Michael Nordman from Verizon, one of our other great partners, will give us an amazing example of a project that their team is doing that I think really fits into this framework. I'm helping Michael out with that project, and as soon as he talked to me about it, I thought, wow, you have to share this with the IEC. And then we'll have a little Q&A and we'll wrap it up. So with that, welcome Stephen and Josh. You let me know when you're ready for me to share my screen and I'll get your presentation up.
You're ready, Emily, thanks.
Okay. Here we are. And I'll just get it to presentation. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Sorry, give me a second here.
No worries. And while you're doing that, thank you, Emily. Thank you, Brian, for the opportunity to present. This is a topic that authentic engagement with the LGBTQ community is something that we certainly take with a great deal of, no pun intended, pride at Verizon. And this is something that, we by no means consider ourselves to be the experts, but it's something that we do, I think, pretty well. I think we do it very well. And we just wanted to share our framework. So this is not meant to be prescriptive, but to talk about how we think about engagement and kind of the three buckets that we put our engagement in. And hopefully it provides some ideas, inspiration, and generates some good conversation. So with that, let's go to the next slide, Emily. And so, before I get started, I guess intros are in order. Again, my name is Stephen Shaw. I'm the Community Engagement Director at Verizon for the Chicago and the Milwaukee markets. Really happy to have my colleague and my counterpart who leads community engagement from Denver, Josh Miller, on. Josh is very active in our PRISM ERG, and he'll talk a little bit more about that, but glad he could carve out some time from his busy schedule and spend some time virtually in Chicago with us today. So we're going to talk about, I'm just going to give a brief overview of our kind of DEI philosophy at Verizon, then talk about our integrated approach to this authentic engagement. And it really comes in three parts. One, excuse me, we look at partnerships and how we work with organizations in the community. We also look at how we activate our ERG, our employee resource groups. And again, the name of our LGBT group is at Verizon is called PRISM. Then the third, I guess, variable in the equation is how we activate all of our employees through volunteerism. So that's the framework we're going to use today. Partnerships, ERG work, and then volunteerism. Next, Emily.
A little slow on the uptake, but it's coming.
That's all right. Well, I will while we're getting the particular slide up, just to give you a sense of how we think about DEI at Verizon. it is, we're as a global company, we literally have a global community. And so we look at, we like to use this analogy, this visual of all these different chairs. They come in different styles, different heights, different, there's different aesthetics, but at the end of the day, they all provide a solid place for us to sit and engage with each other. And so no matter kind of what it looks like, or some of the different aspects, everyone has a seat, and we want to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table. And so this is how we want to, this is how we think about our DEI efforts at Verizon. And then this, and after this slide, I will kick it over to Josh. This just reinforces and gives an overview of our 3-point format that we talked about earlier. One, how do we engage community partnerships, and how do we have a presence in the community as a company? Two, how do we activate our PRISM, our employee resource group, to do work not only within Verizon, but also in the community? And then how do we activate our employee volunteers? And so Verizon, as a part of our Citizen Verizon effort, which is our broad CSR, or corporate social responsibility framework, we have a goal to implement 2.5 million volunteer hours by 2025. So 2.5 by 2025. We are actually we just had a report yesterday, Josh and I did in a meeting, and we're actually a little ahead of pace, largely because of folks like the two of us out in the community doing this work. So these are the 3 ways that we engage. And if we do all of these things, we say that we will meet our company's purpose, which is to create the networks that move the world forward for everyone. And we'll create the kind of community impact with society as our 4th stakeholder group that we seek to create. So with that overview, I will kick it over to my buddy from Denver, Josh Miller. Thanks again for joining us, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm really honored to join you all today and talk about, all the great stuff we do for the community here at Verizon. I'll just start off. I think that when most people think of a corporation getting involved in LGBTQ efforts, they think of changing their logo to some sort of rainbow logo in the month of June, running a pride advertisement of some kind, and then being done with it and moving on to the next month of advertising campaigns. Not at Verizon. At Verizon, LGBTQ equality is woven into our culture in so many different ways. And one of our main goals is to help advance inclusion, acceptance, youth empowerment through sustained LGBTQ community partnerships and visible presence. And to me, that means we're here in January, we're here in August, we're here in December, and of course, we will celebrate in June. But we want to be here year round. And one of the ways that we started doing this in 2018, we launched one of our first ever Pride campaigns called Connected by Pride. And yes, the logo was transferred to a rainbow logo, which I still think is fantastic. I like the representation that I see when I see it on Facebook, on social media, on TV. And I know that our LGBTQ customers enjoy seeing that representation as well, because it's also backed up by several different resources, efforts, and initiatives. One of our big partnerships is that we partnered with PFLAG on our Connected by Pride campaign, which I'll show you an advertisement here in a little bit that we did. But when we partner with these groups, it's not just a partnership in name only. We encourage them to bring in their experts to help us with allyship and inclusion training, help us to tailor make our Pride campaign so it is not offensive to the community, and so it is as inclusive as possible. We then branch these out to the national organizations that many of you know of, like PFLAG, Out and Equal, Trevor Project, and the National LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce. These relationships result in things like supplier diversity, which I think is a big thing for a corporation to actively seek out LGBTQ suppliers for our products, for our remodels, for our technology needs, because there are so many of those out there. As you all know, as you are all aware, LGBTQ people are incredibly resourceful and entrepreneurial, and we want to be there to support them in their endeavors. It won't be worth anything of our efforts if we just stay on the national level. We've got to bring things home to the local level. I think you're seeing an example of this right now with Stephen's partnership with Equality Illinois. I think that's fantastic. I myself here in Colorado and am an active gay man in the community. I came into this job here at Verizon knowing many of our LGBTQ plus entities in town. And we're supporting everything from a transgender inclusion training in all of the school districts in Colorado to actual supporting Denver Pride. Here in Colorado, I also did another thing. We're really big on creating networks here at Verizon, whether it's cellular networks, networks of people, or connecting communities together. And I got the heads of all of our LGBTQ entities. Maybe some of you have heard of them, the LGBTQ Center of Denver, Out Boulder, the Denver LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, One Colorado. And we have a quarterly meeting where we talk about what is needed to solve some issues in the LGBTQ community and how Verizon can be impactful to those efforts. When we talk about being impactful, Stephen and myself have resources that we can use, like our Verizon Foundation. Stephen also mentioned that volunteerism is just really woven into our culture here as well. And we do everything from park cleanups to mentoring youth, helping with job mock training interviews and resume buildings. But we're also interested too in what all of these kids can provide. And so many LGBTQ kids today need this youth empowerment and support from a company like Verizon, where we can come in and support their Rainbow Alley Homeless Youth Center, or support their STEM initiative. Or if they have a little business initiative, we can come in and we want to hear about it, and we want to be there to support it. And then internally, in the company, we support LGBTQ health. We cover transgender benefits for our employees and their partners. We cover domestic partnership health benefits. It's why we retain for the last couple of years a perfect score from the HRC on the job index score. And so we have a multi-pronged approach to this to make sure that our efforts are going year-round, both internally and externally. Do we want to move on to the next slide? So this is a video, and Emily, I don't know if you can copy that link and play it. It's a couple-minute video. It's something that we did in conjunction with PFLAG 2 years ago. I should all let you know, we did not do a Pride campaign last year in lieu of COVID and the unfortunate events around George Floyd, and we wanted to be respectful to that movement. So they actually laid off of a Pride campaign last year, and hopefully in the next week we'll be launching this year's Pride campaign. But this will just give you a taste of how we partnered with PFLAG and helped them connect families back together, and children coming out to their parents. It's pretty emotional. So if we can tee that up, that would be fantastic.
Pulling it up right now. Give me one sec.
Sure.
Emily, if we're having trouble loading, we can move forward with the deck and then maybe show it afterwards.
I'm sorry, were you unable to see it?
Yeah, we haven't we aren't seeing it.
Oh, okay. Let's move forward and I will get this teed up
Okay,
better for you all. Okay, sorry
no
about that.
worries.
I thought it
No
was
worries.
playing for everyone. Okay.
We'll resume on slide 7.
Sure. Is the screen sharing now?
Yes, now it is.
Okay, my apologies, everyone. I will get the video figured out as well. It's a very good video.
No worries. Well, while you do that, we'll just we'll talk on slide 7. So moving on to the strength of employee resource groups. I'm sure if many of you are part of a big corporation, you have these. Here at Verizon, we have a vast array of employee resource groups that are representative of our company, from everyone from LGBTQ employees to veterans, and almost everyone in between. The goal with these is to enable LGBTQ employees and allies to lead efforts that provide leadership development, mentoring, and career development, workplace inclusion, and community engagement. At Verizon, our employee resource group PRISM is comprised of about 4,300 employees. Both LGBTQ and our allies are involved. I myself am involved in the Colorado chapter of PRISM. And with these ERGs, both on the state and national level, we work on everything from leadership and professional and personal development. We do a series of professional development experiences for our employees. These can be webinars, mentoring sessions, conversations, and sometimes they're done in conjunction with other ERGs, because as we're all aware, LGBTQ plus individuals span the entire rainbow of race and religious backgrounds. We also serve as an advisor to the company on how to be more inclusive, on how to adapt and change policies, especially recently, like pronouns in our email signatures and how we address our employees. The company is, I think, really miles ahead of a lot of our corporate colleagues when it comes to this, because we are very much encouraged to be our authentic selves at work. I had never worked for a corporation before Verizon. I worked in democratic politics before, and truly, I have never felt so welcomed as an LGBTQ individual or taken care of. I know that my colleagues are accepting of it. I know it's encouraged. I know that I can really be my true self. And just to let you all know, I am a drag entertainer on the weekends and a corporate employee on the weekdays, and everyone at work knows about it and is cool with it. And in fact, we'll be hosting some fun events as my drag persona for our ERG. I don't think it can get more accepting than that. We also like to make sure that our employee resource groups are connected out into the community. Again, weaving in that culture of volunteerism and mentoring. We definitely like to partner with our ERG and our national marketing team to help construct an inclusive and prideful message for our pride campaigns. And when we're talking about overall inclusiveness. And so it's great. We are listened to. Our advice is noted. It is implemented. And that is part of the strength of the ERGs. Again, doing everything from webinars and leadership developments to happy hours and drag bingos. And I don't know how much more inclusive we can get as employees, with that. So let's move on to slide 8. And again, I stress this again, employee volunteerism is paramount here at Verizon. Stephen had mentioned that we have a goal of 2.5 million volunteer hours by 2025, which we are well on our way to achieving that. For us, it's not enough to count as a volunteer effort to just march in the Pride Parade. We need to be actively involved in doing something. There has to be an action item there. PFLAG and their network across the nation has helped expand our volunteer mission in the LGBTQ community. Here at Verizon, we're a technology company as well. We own several websites and technology platforms that we can use to help enhance communication and outreach from these groups to promote what they're doing in the community. I think that's a valuable commodity to any group who wants to reach an additional few thousand people, and we're happy to vocalize that for them. We want to empower the leaders of tomorrow. It's all leaders. Black, white, Latino, gay, straight, Jewish, Catholic, Muslim. We want to empower the next generation and our next generation of the workforce. LGBTQ kids are absolutely part of that. Many of them belong to technology-based groups and clubs who need mentors and funding, and we're happy to be there. The last thing I'll mention too is we're big on suicide prevention. Especially for all the LGBTQ people who are in attendance on this call. I think we know, especially through the last year of COVID, that there's some disparities that have been widened and have been peeled back. Suicide is definitely at the forefront of that. Whenever we see in our heterosexual counterparts, the unemployment rate is at 6%, I always double that to 12%. I usually double the heterosexual statistics in the LGBTQ community because we do face homelessness at a greater rate, suicide at a greater rate, depression at a greater rate, joblessness at a greater rate. And so we have partnered with the Trevor Project to help with suicide prevention. And then, through that, using their experts to train our employees how to be LGBTQ youth counselors and how to interact with LGBTQ youth. So it's pretty strong. We have a pretty robust program all across the board here with our LGBTQ plus outreach in the community nationwide. Let's move on to slide 9. And then it's great. It's great to do the ERG. It's great to volunteer in the community, but we have to walk the walk. And in the last decade alone, Verizon has supported the Equality Act, supported marriage equality. And that's not just a signature on a coalition pamphlet. That is actively engaging with elected officials and decision makers to lobby our opinion that everyone should have the right to be married. No one should be fired for being gay. And we won't take credit for it passing, but we are very proud to be part of the coalitions that help change these policies around. We can go in just a few more. We sign on to continuous joint statements from big tech leaders in support of LGBTQ inclusion. We celebrate National Day of Transgender Visibility, which, as gay people, we're all aware of this manufactured crisis around transgender individuals that many of our elected leaders have bought into. Well, not at Verizon. We promote transgender visibility. We do it through celebrating with our trans colleagues, and we do it through things like funding transgender healthcare through our healthcare plans, which not a lot of companies are there yet. So again, I'm very proud to work for a company that is willing to stand on the right side of history and try their best to make an impact, which I do think it clearly has in the last few years. Let's go on to the next slide, please. And all of this boils down to some of our national recognition. And I think really the gold standard of national recognitions comes from a place like HRC. And just to refresh everyone here on the call, the criteria that goes into your HRC score is a company that has workplace protections regarding sexual orientation, workplace protections regarding gender identity and expression, equivalency in same and different sex spousal benefits, equivalency in same and different sex domestic partner benefits, equal health coverage for transgender employees without exclusion, training and education and best practices for your employees, efforts of outreach or engagement to the broader LGBTQ community, having an employee resource group, and social responsibility. And I'm proud to say that Verizon scores a perfect 100% on that. With that, that is our multi-pronged approach. It's very goal-oriented. I think it's very impactful in the community. And I think I can speak for my LGBTQ colleagues here at Verizon. We're very proud to work for such an open and accepting company that accepts us for who we are, promotes us, and lets us be our authentic self. With that, I can toss it back to Stephen or Emily or anyone for some questions.
Real
Emily,
quickly.
I was going to say thank you, Josh. Emily, is there a way we can show the video now?
Yes, I'm gonna pull that up right now. Here we are. I'm gonna have to start it over. So yeah, I was about a minute in thinking you all were watching it with me. My apologies. Okay, here we go.
Nope.
No, we don't.
No.
We still see the slide. We still see the last slide.
Okay.
Emily, I don't know if this is at all it. When you click share screen, are you clicking the bottoms on the left that say share video and share computer for sound?
Let me double check that I have that right. Why don't I figure that piece out, and yeah, let's go ahead and give some time for folks to ask questions to Josh and Stephen while I get this figured out. Again, my apologies. You would think as a millennial I would know Zoom by now. But yes, let's allow Stephen and Josh to take some questions from the group, and then we'll get to the video.
One thing that I want to reinforce what Josh said is that we not only value our individual ERGs, but we promote the intersectionality between our groups. And so and we also encourage membership in multiple ERGs. And so kind of whatever your home ERG is, we actively encourage allyship among others. And so we've done several joint events with the BOLD, which is our Black focused ERG, and PRISM. So matter of fact, I think, Josh, we just had something the other day between BOLD and PRISM. SOMOS, which is our Latinx focused ERG. Been a number of joint events between not only BOLD and SOMOS, but between SOMOS and PRISM. And so we definitely encourage allyship and looking at these issues through a lens of intersectionality, which I think strengthens the entire entire company. Because when Josh said that there are over 4,000 or 4,300 members of our PRISM ERG, there are other ERGs that have similarly impressive numbers, because we have not only members but allies, and so that's something that we definitely promote.
Yeah, a question I had, and Stephen and Josh, thank you both so much. This has just been awesome, and it's really inspiring to hear everything you're doing. I was wondering if you could talk about the ways in which PRISM has helped to advance LGBTQ issues, both internally at Verizon and externally. I mean, I think there was a lot of discussion about really the amazing corporate culture that Verizon has right now. But if you're able to show us or explain what role PRISM plays in that, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of PRISM is the ability to educate our allies. I think Chicago is very much like a place like Denver, where it's a urban area, but you leave the urban area and it's more farmland, it's rural. There are more anti-LGBTQ politicians out there. There are also folks who might have never met an LGBTQ person. There are parts of this country where there aren't big LGBTQ populations, but Verizon might have a presence. And so the ability for PRISM to educate folks, especially like our HR leaders here at the company, on how to have inclusive policy. What is the new norm? I think when I say new norms too, we see this with our transgender brothers and sisters. A decade ago, we were not having the pronoun conversation. We were not talking about gender affirming care. We were not really allowing, and I don't say this on Verizon, I say this as a society, we weren't really allowing transgender individuals to transition and be their authentic selves. That has changed, and surely has changed in the younger generations. And when you have your openly gay employees and trans employees being able to counsel and consult the company on how to have inclusive operating policies, I think that is a huge benefit to everyone involved. So I think that's definitely one way we can mobilize the ERG for good internally.
If I may, I think I figured this out. Let's give it one more try and then we'll get back to questions. If it doesn't work this time, how about I include the link in our follow-up email so that everyone has it as well?
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
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 Me and my mom have always been BFFs until I called her to tell her, like, I kind of want to date a girl, and that's just, she lost it.
And it was a shock. It's not what I wanted for my daughter.
When I first came out as a person of trans experience, he was messing up with pronouns, messing up my name. It made me feel as if I didn't have a brother who saw me for who I was.
It didn't make sense to me. You know, you were born a girl, so how can that happen? My response, it wasn't a good one. She's like, dress normal. And I would think to myself, what does normal mean? What does that mean?
I was afraid of what other people may say about how he dresses or how he acts.
It's about to be 5 years since I've spoken to my mom.
I really just poured out my heart to my mom, hoping that she would just straight up right then and there tell me that she still loved me and still cared about me.
I would love for her to find a guy and get married and have children, but she has to live her own life and what she wants. I haven't said that to her, but I think that would have made a big difference.
Hello?
Hi, it's Mom.
Like, we ain't talked on the phone in a long time.
True.
I want to talk about some things that we haven't ever talked about.
You know, when you first called me,
Yeah?
I should have told you how much I loved you then.
You know, I should have been there. It shouldn't have been no doubt. I really don't ever want you to feel like I'm not there for you, dude.
I no longer will allow society to dictate how and what I think. I am super proud of you for having the courage to be who you are.
Whoever you bring into this home will have my love also.
Just want you to know, like,
You count in our life, in our family.
stop touching over there. You're gonna make
Homework in your face.
Oh my God.
I love you very much.
Love you too, Mama.
bye.
Bye.
That was crazy.
Yes. Nah, it feels good though. It really does feel good.
She's wanted to call and tell me she loved me and that she's proud to have me as her daughter. I never thought that phone call would ever come.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks for showing that. And just to affirm that those were not paid actors. Those are those are real Verizon customers.
That's so amazing. I don't know how you all got them to tell that story so publicly. It's so beautiful.
Definitely through our work with PFLAG. And I think it just makes sense that we help provide that phone call. And I think many of us know what that phone call or conversation was like.
It's such a great example. And like you said, Josh, I know what those phone calls are like, and I'm sure many of us do as well who are on the call. And I want to get back to more reactions to the video and more questions for Josh and Stephen. Really quick, I'd love to just jump to Michael Nordman to give an example of what MolsonCoors is up to right now, and then we can just open it up for probably what's the remaining time. So Michael, take it away. I think you can add to what our Verizon team has shared with us.
Yeah, that was a very emotional video. So that was really great. And, you know, the authenticity I think is so important in these pride campaigns, and, you know, having a partnership with PFLAG and really showing real people, you know, connecting over those moments rather than just, you know, actors or things like that, to your point, I think are such an authentic connection with the community. So great job, Verizon team. So. Well, that's a hard act to follow, but I will try. So, you know, I work at MolsonCoors. I'm the Senior Manager of Community Affairs. In that role, I handle our national partnerships with the African American, LGBTQ, and veterans communities. And then I also am based in Chicago, so I handle our Chicago community partnerships and lead the overall team and what we do in partnering with some great nonprofits across the country, much like Equality Illinois. So, to Emily's point earlier, you know, we are a company of many different brands. And so our different brands usually approach, you know, Pride, Hispanic Heritage Month, other opportunities and celebrations and holidays through the year in a unique way to that brand. And so what I wanted to share with you today is just what a couple of our brands are doing around Pride this month, and how we're using partnerships that existed through our community investment to actually connect them with brands, but bring programs that are actually going to have real impact for LGBTQ individuals across the country. So with that, I don't have as prepared of a presentation, but I will share a few slides with you to kick us off here. So I want to start with Miller Lite. So Miller Lite has actually been one of the companies in the beer space that's been at the forefront of support for the LGBTQ community, running ads in the 90s. I think we were one of the first major corporate sponsors of New York City Pride in 1996, and offering benefits to employees at an early time period when many companies weren't. And so with that history, you know, it really felt authentic for this brand to speak out and speak to the LGBTQ community, because really Miller Lite is positioned to be as a come as you are beer. So, you know, celebrating that authenticity of being the original light beer to the authenticity of being a member of the LGBTQ community who can be themselves and celebrate Miller time together without, you know, any pretense, without trying to hide identity, but just like being authentic. And so that is where the brand's values lie, and a key reason why we think that this program will have a great connection with the community. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and do a couple of slides real quick. I think you can see this. I'm just going to try to blow it up. So really our strategy is to, like I said, build an authentic approach to make real impact within the community. So we've had a program the last 10 years called Tap Into Change, where we've partnered with local LGBTQ and HIV organizations and raised almost $600,000 from proceeds of both Miller Lite and Coors Light in bars across the country. Chicago, we've had this program. It's actually where it initiated, and you've probably seen it at bars during that time period. At the national level, we partner with an organization called Equality Federation. And for those who aren't familiar with the Equality Federation, they're sort of the strategic partner for the statewide LGBTQ groups across the country. And so they sort of serve as that national partner and connector to help build leadership within those organizations. So in 2021, we really want to, tell our story and strengthen our credibility by showcasing this commitment. So we actually increased our investment in the program and are going to be announcing a $250,000 donation to the Equality Federation in support of all of their statewide groups, which I believe there are 42 across the country. So, one of the important things I think that, any business understands now is that, Pride really can't just be celebrated during June. So, we are making some key announcements and programs around that period, but we also have plans that will come out a little bit later down the road in October, November, and December, because really you have to be talking to the community 365 days of the year. Sorry, not week. So we want to establish that history of support and commitment to the future. And so one of the ways that we're doing this so that people are aware of it is with out of home. And so you'll see to the right here kind of the Pride Month out of home that we have and celebrating this partnership with the Equality Federation. And we'll be doing this across lots of different communities, not just, your major metropolitan areas, but, being a proud partner of One Iowa or, Human Rights Montana or just Basic Rights Oregon, just a lot of different groups that are part of this. So it's one way to feature that organization and give them some extra attention, but also to, kind of showcase that partnership. But then, really beyond just the marketing element, it's important that we have kind of programming. So one of the things that we are launching is called Open and Proud. And we know, LGBTQ bars are safe spaces for many in our community, but it's not always the safe space for everyone. And so we felt that Miller Lite, given our positioning that we are in so many bars and restaurants, can play a role in this space. And I think it's very similar to kind of what Verizon did in the sense of, that phone call, that element of speaking and communications, like that made sense for them. And so we tried to find something that also made sense for, us as a consumer product good and where to speak. So what we're really launching is a way to promote this inclusive Miller time where everyone can feel accepted at bars. And so what we'll do is form sort of a task force, inviting the community in to speak to bar owners to talk about times that they maybe didn't feel included or ways that, our bars can be more friendly to more parts of the community. What we found is many times people who are trans, people of color, women don't always feel comfortable in these spaces. And so oftentimes we've seen it as sort of the cis white gay male space. And we really want to make sure that this is actually inclusive for everyone so that when you step into a bar and you see this open and proud neon, that you understand that you're welcome here, no matter what your identity is, no matter your race, no matter what you believe. So that's kind of important. And so what we want to do is, kind of use this feedback moment, which we're going to launch with the first one in Chicago in partnership with Equality Illinois. So you'll be hearing more about this, but really bringing people in the community together for discussion, taking notes, bringing that feedback and putting it into a guide. And this would be a guide that we could give to all of our bar partners moving forward, kind of a one pager that they could put up as leave behind, in the employee room, educating people on things like pronouns, how to be respectful and make your accommodations more inclusive. All these different areas that, where some bars are way ahead of the curve, there are others who are still on their journey to get there. And so we want to help with that while also educating our sales team on these things so that they can go in and be ambassadors in the accounts that they're in every day. So like I said, we'll host these happy hour chats to bring folks together. We'll develop these training materials and then get those out into the market. And while we're starting with Chicago, the plan is to continue to build this program throughout the year in different cities across the country. We also have some great partnerships with the U.S. Bartenders Guild, which really came through for the bartending community last year during COVID and providing, relief and funds to out-of-work bartenders. So we think that's another network that can help educate their employees beyond just, our LGBTQ bars, but also looking at those that consider themselves straight friendly or just, straight bars in general. So we're obviously getting this kicked off now. We'll be announcing this the week of the 7th, and then we'll start hosting these happy hour chats. So really hope that folks will be able to join us for this so that once we actually do launch it in the community. And then very briefly, I just want to talk about one other brand and act that we are doing, and that is with Vizzy Hard Seltzer. So hopefully some of you have had a chance to try Vizzy Hard Seltzer. I don't think it's sharing my right screen. There we go. So Vizzy Hard Seltzer is our largest hard seltzer brand. And so last year when it launched, very early on, we wanted to have a bold partnership because really Vizzy is the only hard seltzer with antioxidant vitamin C. We aren't with white packaging, usually we're orange. And so we really wanted to stand out. And so part of that was we launched a 3-year, $1 million campaign with Human Rights Campaign as a partnership. And so really, you know, last year we kind of announced the partnership, partnered at a more, you know, lower level with their groups and events that were going on. Obviously, there weren't these big signature events, but with the plans that this year we would kind of put that into overdrive. And so what you see on the screen now is our Pride Pack, which we are launching. And, you know, we're always cognizant about, you know, this sort of, you know, push and pull between rainbow washing and making sure that you're actually, you know, helping and supporting the community. So what we've done with the Human Rights Campaign is have this partnership that not only talks about what our partnership exists, but it has kind of a QR code on the packaging where you can go and get more resources from the Human Rights Campaign directly. And really the campaign is all about loving your identity, living past labels, and celebrating that this summer. So we have a lot of local partnerships as we roll this out into market. So in Chicago, you can easily find this package starting June 1st at Jewel Osco, and those proceeds are going to benefit Center on Halsted. So even with a new brand, one that maybe didn't have that perspective, we wanted to ingrain that in the DNA very early on and continue to be an ally for the community through this Human Rights Campaign partnership. So, and with that, there's also going to be kind of a bigger announcement that they're going to be doing in June that also will support the community. So we'll be doing a registry. So people know, you know, wedding registries, baby registries, but what we really wanted to do was something that was really trans forward for the community. And so what we decided was, you know, let's celebrate those moments, whether it's transitioning your gender identity or getting your legal name changed or being able to update your documentation. And let's celebrate that because it is quite expensive. And we know that the trans community faces more discrimination than pretty much any other community and also has less access to economic opportunities, often underemployed. And so, you know, the things and documents and things that they're required to update are often quite expensive. So the idea was rather than, you know, necessarily having people pay for that, what about paying for those other things that would celebrate that life moment and really bring people together? And so we're going to create a registry where people can go on, you know, celebrate their occasion, and then people can come in and donate to it. It could be their friends, it could be their family, it could be strangers, and it could be Vizzy because we're going to do a little bit of a surprise and delight in filling a couple of people's registries as well throughout that time period. And this is something that we'll have up at least through the end of the year. And so it's something that can be a resource year round for folks. So yeah, those are a couple of opportunities of what we're doing in the community. I appreciate the opportunity to share those with you. Thank you, Emily and Nicole. You guys have been great partners in this work, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thanks, Michael.
Did you bring any papaya passion fruit samples? I mean, I love that flavor combination.
Yeah, so I will definitely be letting you know. There are going to be some definite opportunities as we return to in-person events. In fact, we're looking at doing a kickoff to Pride at Center on Halsted later in June. So more news to come, and I definitely will try to share that out with this group. We'll be featuring the 12-pack of papaya passion fruit, which is really good. I can vouch for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And I would also just like to plug that Vizzy is also the presenting sponsor of our upcoming Pride event. So we appreciate that. We have exactly 9 minutes left. I feel like I just took in so much good info. I knew these would be amazing presenters today. I want to see if there's any other reflections on what you heard today or questions. Either are welcome. And then we can wrap it up.
I was just going to say to Michael, MolsonCoors has been the longtime main sponsor of Denver Pride. And this year, Verizon, we are the sponsor of Virtual Pride. And so we're doing this all together. And hopefully next year it'll just grow. But your company has very much been a steadfast ally over the years.
Yeah, we're looking forward to Pride Fest this year. It's so interesting that it's going to be done through kind of hubs around the city, but it will ensure people are able to celebrate safely. And yeah, we'll definitely have the products flowing.
Yes, I'm sure.
So hopefully, we should definitely connect though, because it's so funny that you guys said Chicago, Milwaukee, and Denver, because those are what we consider our three, corporate hubs. And so we do a lot of programming at the local level of supporting organizations in both of those communities. And we have a lot of partners in common, especially in Denver. So that's fantastic to hear what you guys are doing.
Yeah, nice to meet you today.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Any other questions or reflections from the group? Great. From our speakers, anything else you want to say as we, before I wrap us up here?
Just want to thank you very much for having me, Stephen, Emily, Equality Illinois. Thank you very much. Hopefully next year, maybe we can do this in person, which maybe over brunch or something. But I just want to thank you all for allowing me to be your guest today.
Happy to have you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. Thank you all three so much. Thanks to everyone who joined us. As I mentioned at the top of the meeting, this is our last session for this year's IEC cycle. Couple things to note. I will be reaching out to folks to tell you a little bit about our pretty far along the way plans for the next year. I know this year was a little bit of like, we were trying to move with the times given that they were so unprecedented, but we've got a pretty set calendar that you can all plan around for this year. We are going to be back in person, which I know we're all excited about, with some virtual elements incorporated as well. So I'll be sharing those plans with you all, making sure that you all stick with us. And then in addition to that, I just wanted to plug, as I mentioned with the Visi sponsorship, our Pride event is June 5th. You might see it might have already come out. I don't know since we started the meeting, but we are announcing the finalists for Illinois' Got Talent today. We have 5 regions in Illinois where we sourced LGBTQ talent, and 2 of those regions tied. So we have 7 finalists. They're all fantastic. If you buy tickets on our website to join the event on June 5th, you can vote for the winner of a $500 cash prize while also supporting Equality Illinois. So I urge you to do that and share it with your friends and family. And other than that, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for the support through the IEC, and we will not be gone for long. You'll hear from me soon.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Thanks so much.
Bye, thank you.